Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Wednesday, July 18th, 2018. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Bill Bank Green. Bank, thanks for getting up early this morning, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, Dave. Good to be with you.
I started a thread on the board last night asking the good people on the front row message board to fire some questions your way, and they were happy to do so. First question comes from Alpha Buckeye. He says, Bill, are you nervous as I am accepting a commitment from a wide receiver that runs a 4.71 40?
No, because I think the kid's a pretty good player. There's all different ways to succeed as a wide receiver. And, if you can get open and you can catch the ball, then there's a place for you at the college level. I assume they're talking about Marcus Washington. And
that's what I assume too, yes.
Yeah, his film speaks for itself. They like him, and they can go get pretty much whoever they want. So, I have not seen him in person. I wish I had. To me, the film is a part of every evaluation, but for me personally, I really need to see these kids in person to make what I feel a comfortable evaluation. This kid, the film speaks for itself. He's very productive. Until that 4.71 or 4.79, whatever it was, got publicized, everybody thought he was a pretty darn good player. So, I don't know. Did he have an off day that day? I saw Dwan Mathis run about a 4.8 or a 4.9 at Under Armour, and it looked awful. But he's got track times that are pretty good. So, I wouldn't worry about it. Ohio State has seen him in person. They obviously like him. So, and I'm probably the last guy to say, trust the coaches, because I've kind of whined and moaned about guys over the years, and sometimes they end up really good and sometimes they do end up bad. But in this one, I just have such limited all I've got is film to go on. So, I wish I had seen him in person somewhere. I can give a better answer. But for now, he's productive in high school. His film is good. He's got good size. I say you roll with him.
Yeah, film to me is paramount. And we all know that football speed and track speed are two different things. Some guys can run really well in shorts and T-shirt, and they get out there and put football pads on, and it just affects them a lot. Some guys run just as well with pads on. And as you mentioned, he could have just had a bad day. It's not like he ran 10 40s in 10 different days and all were like in the 4.7 range. So I'm with you, man.
Right.
Pay attention to the film.
I have no idea. Yeah, like I said, I can go back and say that, I did see Mike Thomas the year before he went to Fort Union. I saw him every day for 5 days at Under Armour, and I thought he was the worst player I had ever seen at Under Armour. And if you go back and talk to guys like Brandon Huffman and Greg Powers, guys that were there that week, they would say, it's probably the worst kid we've ever seen at an Under Armour All-Star game. He got here because of his uncle, Keyshawn Johnson, pushed for him. Nobody really wanted him out of high school. He was slow. That guy's unbelievable right now. So, just, I don't know. For me to answer Alpha's question, I have limited data to go on because I haven't seen him in person. So his film is good, and he is productive, and that's about the best I can come up with.
One more question from Alpha. He got the first two questions in, so let's go right down the list. This is a kind of a long question. I'll just kind of three-part question. I'll just read the whole thing, and you can give your answer. Bill, any concerns about corner recruiting since Kerry Combs left? Where are the five-star elite guys we were piling up like the last two classes? Who are the top 2 or 3 corners OSU could land? And are other coaches using Combs' departure against Ohio State?
Well, the last one, I would say no. I don't think anyone's using Kerry Combs' departure against Ohio State. Who can they get? Right now, it looks like Peyton Powell, they're going to try to make him into a cornerback, which, I'm kind of with Alpha on this. I don't understand, like a lot of this recruiting class I don't understand. And when someone questions Urban Meyer as a recruiter, you usually end up looking pretty stupid because they're going to end up with a great class as they usually do. But yet, I think there's cause to question things. We question people like Grant Schmidt, Kevin Federer, Josh Alibi that one year when they took all those linemen. I don't get what they're doing defensive back-wise. I know Tabor Johnson is a tremendous recruiter. He has been his whole life. They've landed Jordan Battle, who probably is a safety, but I think they think is a corner. So I would agree with him. It does seem a little confusing right now what they're doing, and it does seem like they're behind the eight ball in terms of cornerbacks. And then there's a lot of guys they're taking that we don't know what position they're going to play, and I don't think they know what position they're going to play. And that's kind of odd for Ohio State. That's usually not the way they do it. So I think there are a lot of questions right now, but it's July, Dave. It's mid-July, and last year at this time, the projected class that we all made our guesses on looked a lot different than what that class looked like on signing day. So I know people, we love to discuss this stuff. We do it every day. We love it, but yet you can't judge a class till all the guys are signed and in the hopper. Last year at this time, we were all excited about Brenton Cox and Jaden Woodbay and Emory Jones, and Ohio State was going to get Jack Carman, and no one really knew anything about Nicholas Pettit-Frere. So let the class play out. Let's see where it ends up. Am I surprised a little bit? Yeah. But we're at the halfway point. You got to let it finish.
Great point. And, hey, how about that, Alpha? Bank agrees with you. Next question comes from Buckeye Champ. He says, the bank knows Florida well. Who is the next projected commit we will get from Florida, regardless of class?
Yeah, it may not be in this class. I'm sticking with Henry Gray decommitting from Miami and committing to Ohio State. Now, that might take 2 years. That might take 2 days. I think they're going to get Henry Gray. This period they're in right now, I don't really see anyone coming right now, but things can change. Urban Meyer, his best recruiting happens after the season starts, and he can start bringing people in for games. Derek Wingo would commit yesterday if they would take him. They're not sold on him yet. Tyler Davis, I think they have a fighting chance for. So that's kind of hard to say right now. I see no one imminent right now that's going to commit to Ohio State soon out of the Florida area, but I feel really good about them flipping Henry Gray from Miami at some point.
Next question from Tar Heel Buck. He says, Bill, is this still a great offensive line recruiting class if we don't get at least one marquee tackle prospect? Why the disinterest from top corners in this cycle? You already answered that question, the top corners.
Yeah,
just focus on the first one. Is this still a great offensive line class if the Buckeyes don't get at least one marquee tackle prospect?
Well, I think Ryan Jacoby's pretty darn good. So now, is he elite? I don't know. I mean, he's a better prospect coming out of high school than Thayer Mumford was. And Thayer's been pretty darn good, or it looks like he's going to be pretty good for Ohio State. He's going to start off early. I still believe Doug Nestor can play right tackle. Would I call him an elite tackle prospect? No, I would not. Harry Miller's amazing. So overall, as a recruiting class, to have these three guys committed right now is really good. And then you fight it out for Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright was an Ohio State lock a couple of months ago. Then he's totally out of the picture a couple of months later. Today, we don't know. He did visit. Let it play out. I mean, they're not going to just sign three guys. Nestor, Jacoby, and Miller will not be this class. So is it a great class if they sign those three and then take Jonathan Allen? It's pretty darn good, but I wouldn't call it great. So, but let this thing finish out. If they would land a Darnell Wright type over the next 5 months, you're going to look a lot differently at this old line class than you do right now. You got to let everything play out. And Urban Meyer is one of the strongest closers in the game. So, to judge this class in July, I do it too. And it's like, hold your horses, chill out a bit, let it play out. If they sign these three guys they have now and only add a Jonathan Allen or someone like that, then no, it would be a disappointment. But let's see what the finish looks like.
Final question comes from Buckeye, P-A-N-V-C. Let me do that, make sure I got that right. Buckeye, P-A-V-N-C. There you go. So Buckeye, P-A-V-N-C. He says, he starts off with a compliment. That always helps. He says, I've really been enjoying listening to the Bank on the BM5. He does a great job. I concur with that. His question is, what does Bank think about the linebackers and who will be starting? So finally, a non-recruiting question for you, Bank. I know I've asked you this one too, but do you have any latest update on who you think the starting linebackers will be, and just what do you think of this linebacking core overall?
I think it's a huge question mark, number one. No updates on anyone moving up or down the depth charts, just summer stuff going on right now. Fall camp is going to be a blast to try to get any information we can get about these linebackers, who's moving up, who's moving down, who's making a move. The thing I would hate to see out of Ohio State, and I think what they might be forced to do, is to play Baron Browning in the middle. And that, I think that would be such a waste of his talent, but yet, when you're throwing your best 11 on the field, guys have to play where they have to play. But, man, I think if somebody could fill that middle, like a Justin Hilliard or a Stuff Borland could get the miracle cure somehow, that would be ideal, to have Browning on one outside spot. I think Pete Warner, and I keep mentioning Pete Warner, just from what I saw on special teams, from what Luke Fickell told me down at the Cincinnati camp 2 years ago about Pete Warner, I think that kid is going to be a star. And I think it's going to be really hard to keep him off the field. So if they get the middle solidified with, they tried that last year with Chris Worley, and that didn't fly at all. I hate moving those guys from the outside to the middle. I just hope a true middle sticks out for Ohio State. So Browning could take one outside. I think Pete Warner could take the other outside spot. And then you go from there. It's going to be really inexperienced. The guys that we did see get some experience last year, Malik Harrison, and, Keandre Jones, we just don't know. You don't know what you have. A lot of question marks at that spot. So, to me, the guy to look out for is Pete Warner, and the second thing to look out for is if they can keep Baron Browning on the outside.
Fantastic insights, as always, from Bill Bank Green. Bank, really appreciate it, man.
Hey, no problem, Dave. Glad to be with you.
And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate that as well. Hope you have a great day. Let's hear that Buckeye swag. Best damn band in the land.